We will be starting our virtual walking tour at Heritage Junction Historic Park inside William S. Hart Park. Each of the historic buildings have been moved from another location in the Santa Clarita Valley when they were threatened with destruction. We will be touring historic Newhall. Keep in mind that not all of the buildings here are of the same age or period. Some of the buildings we will be talking about are gone altogether, and we're only looking at where they were. In some cases, there was a series of buildings on the same spot. Our first stop is the Frew Ranch House. Thomas M. Frew arrived in Newhall during the 1890s. He set up a blacksmith shop on San Fernando Road. The Frews lived on Walnut Street, but a son created the Frew Ranch next to Hart's Horseshoe Ranch in the early 19-teens. The property now belongs to Los Angeles County Parks and serves as its regional offices. As we walk towards Hart Park, we find Horseshoe Ranch House. This was built by Babcock Smith in 1910 as headquarters for his 254-acre cattle ranch. Used for early motion picture filming, it was sold to William S. Hart back in 1921. It now houses displays about William S. Hart. Leaving the park behind, we follow 5th Street towards San Fernando Road. If we look down San Fernando Road to our left, we find two small cottage-like buildings. They were built by Halsey W. Russell in 1919. In 1922, the other 6 cottages were added, forming a motor court catering to drivers on the old ridge route. These structures were reportedly used by motion picture people housing a mixville. Across the street is the first sheriff's station in Santa Clarita. Sheriff's deputies replaced the old constabulary in 1926. Substation number 6 was staffed with 8 men, commanded by Captain Jeb Stewart. This was the second jail in Newhall. The Newhall Signal took over the building in 1968, using it as a back shop and the cells as photo labs. They moved out in 1986. Let's continue down Railroad Avenue, where we pass a complex of red buildings. These were built by Albert Swall in 1902, facing San Fernando Road as a rental. In 1925, it was moved to its present location. Swall developed San Fernando Road as a business section. This building became the circulation office for the Newhall Signal during the 1960s. The town of Newhall was really the creation of Henry Mayo Newhall. He was a rich entrepreneur in San Francisco. When he found where the ultimate alignments for the Southern Pacific Railroad were, he set out to buy up land along it while land prices were still low. Once the Southern Pacific would locate a station, there was a community growing up around it. Newhall did everything he could to develop this town. Newhall Station was first built in 1876, about where the Saugus Station was later built. It was moved in 1878 because it became apparent that water was more reliable in what we now call Newhall. The Newhall Metrolink station now sits where the old Newhall Station was. Henry Mayo Newhall developed the Southern Hotel soon after. It was located on Spruce Street, now known as San Fernando Road, almost opposite the train station. It was quite a place for the new town and included a gentleman's bar, a ladies' parlor, and a dining room, all in quite grand style. It didn't take long for businesses to start cropping up around the Newhall station. This is probably the first photograph of the town of Newhall, which included 2 saloons already. This view of Newhall was taken in the 1890s. On the lower right, you can see part of the Newhall Depot. Across the street, at the left, is Gully's store. The white building to its right is the home of Judge Powell. And past Powell's garden is Nick Rivera's saloon. The white building with a peaked facade is the Palace Saloon, and to the right of that is Campton's store. Across the street is the Derrick Saloon, a great favorite of the oil men since Mentryville was a dry town. This is a similar view taken in 2005. This building is on the site of the Gully store. The Newhall Masonic Building Company Limited was incorporated in 1931. A county courthouse lease negotiated and George Chapman of Van Nuys hired to build this 2-story structure. It opened in 1932, the courthouse occupying the ground floor, the Masonic Lodge on the second. Lumber from the old Mayhew building was used, including the floor of the Happyland Dance Hall. The property was sold in 1960, and the court moved to Valencia. Here is a picture of Judge John F. Powell's home. Next to it was a flourishing garden, shown here with some of the family. This photo gives a closer view of what is there currently. In this picture, we see a closer view of Nick Rivera's saloon from the 1890s. He ran a rather curious combination of a saloon and a barbershop. This photo was taken around 1900. The sign reads, N.H. Rivera's Saloon, Everybody's Place. Nick Rivera was murdered on October 17, 1926, and his killers were not brought to justice. This photo shows what the area looks like now. Mike Powell's Palace Saloon was later developed into the oil exchange. This photo was taken in the 1890s. This location was originally Campton's General Merchandise. It was later run under the names of Lumen and Newhall, Lindenfeld and Landell, and by Emile Shea. This is the inside of the establishment. Across the street, about now where you see the Rendezvous Bar, was the Derrick Saloon, also run by Emile Shea's. This gives you a look as the corner looks now in 2005. Now our walking tour leaves the oldest part of Newhall and crosses San Fernando Road at 11th Street. Following 11th Street, you come into view of the American Legion Hall. It started out as the American Theater. William S. Hart built this theater at the corner of Spruce and 11th Streets in 1940, 6 years before his death. The structure was used as a theater through the 1960s. Across Spruce from the theater is Antique Flowers. But this structure was originally the town jail. Bids for a jailhouse were opened February 20th, 1906. The jail is built of concrete in Spanish Mission style. It served as the jail constable's office until 1926, when the sheriff's station was opened. Inside, the character of the jail is preserved by the florists, where the keys hang by the entrance and the bars can still be seen along with the decorations. Another interesting comparison here is the Bamboo Cafe. Stories are that there were two twin brothers. Both of them were chefs, one at the Bamboo Cafe and one at the Saugus Cafe, and locals used to complain that neither place really offered much variety in their menus. And the triangle of land next to the jail has changed too. It used to be a thriving gas station. Spruce Street, or San Fernando Road, was developed because real estate prices had grown so high on Railroad Avenue. Strolling onto the corner of 9th and San Fernando, we find the Way Station Coffee Shop. If you looked inside in 1929, as in this photo, you would see how very much like the modern way station it really was. Some things really don't change all that much. Just behind the way station is an unassuming little house. This building was originally built around 1908 or 1909 as a residence for Ray Osborne. He was the superintendent of the Sterling Borax Works in Tick Canyon. It was located in the small mining town of Lang in the Canyon Country area. The mine was abandoned in 1921. Fred Lampkin moved the entire building to this lot in 1928. Midway down the next block, we find the old home of Frew's Blacksmith Shop. As time changed, the business went more into welding, but the building itself is still there. If you look across the street, you see Newhall Hardware. It really seems like they've always been there, but in reality, they first opened their doors in 1947. Anyone who has been in the store can believe their statement. If we don't have it, you don't need it. With a backwards look toward Old Spruce Street, we turn onto Market and again head toward Newhall Avenue. As you approach Walnut, you see the Veterans Memorial Park. This was once the site of the Pardee House that now sits in Heritage Junction Park. Ed Pardee stuck two buildings together to form his home. Before it was moved to Heritage Junction Historic Park, it was last used as the Chamber of Commerce. Let's take a short side trip, turning right down Walnut. Here you will find the dental offices of Dr. Alan Fine. This is the site where the Kingsbury House once sat. Returning to Market Street, we then approach Newhall Avenue. Then we start back toward Hart Park and Heritage Junction. We didn't see every historic structure in town. We didn't discuss every site that had an historical significance. But this little tour gives you an idea of the kind of rich history this little bit of Santa Clarita has had. Next time you stroll down the street in downtown Newhall, you might wonder what kinds of lives the buildings you were walking by might have had in our colorful past.